onboarding process. So there are two types of onboarding mates. One is like when you join an organization, okay, you have to undergo trainings, you have to sign an agreements. In your agreements, NDAs are also part of non-disclosure agreements, intellectual property agreements, security agreements. That is onboarding process. Now, onboarding process is for when you onboarding process is also like when you're onboarding a supplier or a partner. So there also you sign, there also you have to follow the onboarding process, get the documentation signed. So every organization, they have a process in place for an onboarding, like some documentation needs to be signed. In that documentation, standard clauses needs to be added. Okay, like right to audit. Right to audit is like, suppose I onboard, I hired some function to perform a job for me, then I should have a right to audit them on a regular basis to see whether they're complying and protecting my data in a proper manner or not. Then I can get the controls, I can get the security requirements mentioned that this is what we need to follow as far as our data security is concerned. So that is about onboarding process. Perform managing personal security hiring practices. Perform background checks, education, prior employment, financial history, criminal history. Get the confidentiality agreement signed, non-disclosure agreement and intellectual property. Get conflict of interest agreement signed for having handling competitive information. Like for example, okay, when I used to, right now I'm taking this class and I'm working also, but yes, very soon I would be retiring from my job. Okay, we'll be doing this thing only. So in my current role, my training is not in conflict of interest with my current role because here I'm working as an auditor and here I'm a trainer. But from 2005 to 2007, I used to work for a training organization. And if I were you doing freelancing during my job, that would have been a clear conflict of interest between my training and my job because there I was a trainer. Get the non-compete agreement signed for the position, okay, in charge of unique corporate procedures. Like you will not compete. Like for example, I am I am a part of procurement team. Okay? I'm a part of procurement team, and I got my firm only registered. Okay, and if there is a training, suppose there is a I got my training firm registered, and if there is a contract floated or some tender floated, then I'm also like vouching for that contract. So that's like I've clearly violated. I'm following the. I'm also competing for the same resources. So no, that is not allowed. So these are all look when we talk about security. Security is not only about implementing technical controls. Security is about these things also, like signing an NDA, signing a contract. In a contract, you will have business terms, but at the same time, you should have security terms also like as I told you, right to audit, how you will protect the data, how communication will happen, how you will dispose of the data. So everything, so security is not only about configuring the things, okay, as you people think. Security is about there are many fields of cyber security. Like a person, like you have few Pepsi, you have an admin experience, quality and all. You can easily become an auditor. Okay, you can easily become an auditor. There you don't require a technical skills. Okay, yes, you can learn it over the period of time, but not a hardcore technical skill. But this, there is a fresher here, means if someone is into a bank, I would say you have 2 years of experience. Definitely, you should go for something technical because in the beginning, Job related to technical fields are pretty high in number. So there are jobs, there are things available for everyone. So you can choose it accordingly based on the area of interest. Then employee termination, I have already mentioned. There are two types of termination: voluntary, return of all access, keys and badges, exit interviews, and removal of system access. And involuntary, the way Google and Intuit they remove the access before they were even informed about it. Then you have continuing education. What is this? In 2006, when I joined the training industry, not miss network security industry. At that time, I was a trainer only, but network security industry trainer. So virtualization was quite a new thing. Okay. Cloud was nowhere in picture, commercially, I would say. But these days, and virtualization was just started it. Cisco has come up with their first virtual firewall. But now 18 years have passed. A lot of water has flown into the Thames. Virtualization is is at its peak. Then you have virtualization means ability to host. I just give you a simple example of virtualization, like ability to host multiple boxes, multiple virtual boxes onto a physical box. Like if you are living in a small town where there is no dearth of space, shortage of space. Like I'm from a small B class city, Jabalpur, where still people have independent houses. But at the same time, if you live in Delhi, independent houses is like a luxury. So there's a scarcity of space. So what we have done is, okay, what we have done is like we create floors, and instead of one house, we have created a building where if we have 5 to 6 floors, where 5 tenants can live. That is what a virtualization is. So what I'm trying to convey here is time is changing, technology is changing. Last 5 years, if I talk about, people were talking about automation, Python, scripting, and since last 2 years, everywhere you will hear about AI, ML, AI. So things are changing. So you should have a process in place to ensure that people are regularly updated. It's not people's responsibility. People's responsibility, you can have your personal upgradation, you can do it. But at the same time, organization, they should also have a process in place. They should also have a process in place with the help of which they can protect the organization. They should, with the help of which they can upgrade their employees. So as a part of this, I do check the training calendars of employee of a team whom I'm auditing. I do check their skill metrics. Okay, skill metric is like who is capable of doing what, the skills. Then I also check the training records, and then I also check that and assessment records, whether the training has been done. Attendance record, I do check it. I do check the assessment records to ensure that companies are having teams in place who are well versed with the technology and they are capable of doing the job in an effective manner. Then acceptable use policy. Acceptable use, look, companies, they give you access to laptops, emails, internet. They want you to use it, and they have defined the appropriate use of that. Like, don't use it for personal purpose. Don't write anything on behalf of company into the social media. I've seen people losing their job because of not following an acceptable use policy. Please be careful about writing anything on a LinkedIn or a social media which should not be. I've seen two cases, not related to acceptable use, but I can tell you two cases because whatever you write in a social media, you are not anonymous. There was one guy in South India. He was sending an obscene pictures. He was a married guy. He was sending an obscene pictures to a girlfriend of one famous actor of Karnataka, and he was murdered brutally. He was thinking that he is anonymous. No one is anonymous. Recently, someone from Delhi has written an obscene comment on a widow of a on a widow of some deceased army professional, martyred professional. That comment got viral, and that person is into jail. I've seen, now I'm giving you an example of acceptable use. There was one this guy, okay, if he's Priyanka Chopra has wrote something and he responded to that. It was related to some religion, but it was nothing wrong. But he was in Middle East, and thank God it was saved from getting into jail, but he lost a big contract. You see people write things and then people find out on your LinkedIn profile that you are part of Accenture, you're part of BT, and they start targeting your HRs that he has said wrong, please do. I've seen Indigo pilot, he has lost his job. So be careful about those things these days. World is divided like anything. If you have seen that 20-year-old guy, he hated Trump so much that he tried an assassination attempt on him. The world is full of hatred these days. Be careful about revealing the identity of yours. Not identity, political inclination, because you never know what can happen. We are all working professionals. Then agreement. It is a negotiated and typically legally binding arrangement between party as to a course of actions. It is a statement, either oral or written, of an exchange of promises and business. So there are different types of agreements. Business process agreements, okay, is an agreement between partners that what are the expectations of it. SLAs. What is SLA? SLA stands for service level agreements. Like for example, you have taken an internet services and the company says that we will be providing you 1 GB of our data every day. That and if there is an issue, then we will resolve that issue within a day. We will respond to that within an hour and we will resolve that within a day. So this is what service level agreement. The level of services that you have agreed to provide it to the customer. Then ISA. Let's take an example. BT have a contract between its two suppliers. Okay. Those two suppliers needs to access BT BT data. Then definitely a communication link has to be set up between the BT and these two suppliers. So every organization has defined a standard for setting up this communication link, security standard that like, for example, it will be, you will be having this security, you will be encrypting the data like that. So that is what ISA. MOU and MOA. MOU and MOA, normally it's like MOU is like you showing your interest to invest in something. It is very informal in nature, not legally enforceable in the organization. So that is all about your personal security controls. Okay. Next week, I'm still not done. Next week, we will be doing a technical stuff. We will be covering an OSI, TCP/IP model, and technical controls. That is what we will cover it next week. Okay, so be ready. This was because as it was a first week, so I didn't try to pick up a lot of technical stuff. Next week, we will be covering OSI, TCP/IP, protocols, and then we'll also cover your, your network security devices. Then after that, we will go for cryptography, okay? Then risk assessment and management, okay? So this is how we will proceed further. So next week, we will be covering totally technical class. Don't worry, I will try to make it easier for you. And then next week, we will be covering cryptography. Okay. Then after that, We will go for a risk management, which is again another important topic of the class. And then I will take you through attacks and application attacks and all that. So in this class, I will cover maximum, I would say 50% of your CompTIA Security Plus. Means I will set up a good basic for it. Okay, later on, yes, in order to show your credential that yes, you are security guy, my humble request or strong recommendation to go for CompTIA Security Plus after that. 701 and Vivek for you, CSSP, you can directly go for it. Okay, take a 5 minutes break and then we'll cover our awareness and all. That is again very important. This is also a part of personal security. So this week we are covering personal security. Okay. Next week we will cover technical controls. We'll start with OSI, TCP/IP, and then we'll cover different technical controls like firewalls, IPS, IDS, load balancers. We will not see how to configure it, but I will explain to you what are these devices and how they work. Don't worry, you don't need to have technical knowledge to understand that because when I do teach CISSP, I do teach SSCP and CompTIA Security Plus. SSCP and CompTIA Security Plus, I have taught a lot of freshers, so no need to worry. So don't worry, you will not be facing issues in the next classes also. I will make it easier for you. You are all are experienced and you have seen security over the period of time. It's just like whatever we have covered in this security, people management security, you must have seen in your jobs, but you don't realize that this is also security. Look, there are two types of trainings, everyone. One is security awareness, and second one is security training. So, security awareness training is important to understand the importance of security. What is your expected responsibilities, acceptable behaviors, and non-compliance consequences? Like, for example, you come across a phishing email. So what is expected of you when you come across a phishing email? What are acceptable behaviors? And if you don't abide by that, then what are the consequences? Like there is this is like expected of you to have to follow to make sure that all confidential data is sent in an encrypted form. If you don't do it, then you may lose your job. I give you an example. This happened in one of the functions in my organization. Two people, they uploaded the configuration of a firewall, which was a confidential one, in a clear text format. And it is clearly mentioned in the policy that you should not be doing that way. What happened? Okay, this was detected by our device, the control, DLP, we call it data loss prevention. And had it been a one-time activity, they would have been spared. But when they looked into their previous uploads, it was found that they were doing the same way every time, that is in a clear text format. They lost their job. Modify employees' behavior and attitudes towards security. You make them people aware about what are the different types of attacks so that you can take action so that they can protect themselves. Like, for example, when you go for like when we come across in 2021, when we come across that this kind of oxygen concentrator phishing scam is going on, we immediately send an mailer to to all the employees so that they can be aware of this kind of attacks. It improves the overall security of the organization and implements the controls in a better manner. Look, you can have everything in place, but if your people are not aware, like take an example, you have a world-class security in place. Everything, every firewalls are properly configured, encryption is done. But think about a case where your employee just click a suspicious link and you are doomed. Your employee install an unauthorized software, you are doomed. So that's the reason security awareness trainings are pretty very important. So there are two types of training: security training and security training and security awareness training. Security training, when I talk about, like this one that you are doing, comes under the category of security training. This is not for all. People with a specific skills, specific requirement, they can go through a security training. Like this one is a security training. CSSP training is a security training. Awareness, it is given to all, irrespective of their functions, roles. But yes, you can tailor it as per your own requirements. So there are so security awareness training could help organization protect against social engineering attacks such as phishing. Like for example, if you have like I am managing a ISO 27000 implementation or security of one department which have around 10 teams, total 200 employees. It is not possible for me to interact with all those 200 employees regularly. So what I have done, I have created a security champions out of those 10 teams from all 10 teams, 10 people from 10 teams. And now with this, I interact with those 10 security champions. Whatever I want to communicate, I communicate with them. So, for example, a security champion within a software development team can help developers prioritize security and improving the overall quality of our products. So, security leaders can also use gamifications to enhance cybersecurity for their employees. Is a use of gaming principles in non-game scenarios by engaging and motivating people to achieve business outcomes. So security training, the attacks that we have seen, physics, especially the people-related attacks, the best way to protect against that is by giving trainings. So that covers your people part of it. So let me wrap it up. So what we have covered till now: introduction, why is what is information security, why information security is important. We have covered CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability in details. We have seen covered basic definitions like what is threat, threat agent, vulnerability, risk, and different types of threat agents like hacker, hacktivist, nation states, etc. Then we have covered defense in depth and zero trust. Then phishing and social engineering attack. Okay. Then we have covered security, awareness, training, and then personal security. Next week, what we will be covering: TCP/IP. My humble request, Patty, especially Patsy, and everyone who is not from the technical field, Vivek, you have. So whoever is it, my humble request is to go to YouTube and try to listen to a basic videos of OSI and TCP/IP. Okay, so that you don't, it will not be a totally new concept for you. TCP/IP OSI we will cover. Okay, then we will cover some protocols. Then we will cover network security devices, in which we will cover firewall, router, switches, IPS, load balancers, proxies, NAC 802.1x. So this is our agenda for next week. Okay, so I will be sharing my promise to you. I will be sharing the stuff with you. This one by tomorrow, and this one day after tomorrow, so that you can read it, or if you want to read, then you can. This one I will provide it by today only because I just have to compile it in one and share it with you. Okay, so then after that, we will cover cryptography. That is again a type of, okay, that is next week. Then we will be covering after that physical security. Okay, then there is a topic related to risk assessment and identity and access management and security testing. So this is what we will be covering in our course over the period of time. Okay, so seems interesting. So be ready for it. Okay, and study regularly. I'm there with you for next 6 weeks, 5 weeks more. But even if required, I will extend it by a week. No worries for me. But please be regular. My humble request to you all. Because what I've seen is people join the live classes, but they later on they resort to recordings because they think they become lenient that okay, recordings are there, we will listen to the recordings. So you have paid for the LVCs, live virtual classes. So join because you can ask questions from me over here. Okay, with this I conclude. I have to go somewhere. Okay, so next week and next to next week, total technical stuff coming up. Okay, so this one, TCP/IP and all, it will not be that tough, but cryptography, yes, you have to work hard on that. Okay, so this is how we progress further over the period of time. Next week, it's technical stuff. This week, I've not started with a lot of technical stuff because it was the beginning, but I've seen that you are understanding it. Okay, so anyone can do anything. That is what my stand is always. Age is a number. Anyone can do anything in life. It's just consistency, perseverance, and patience are required. Okay, thank you.